Podcast Media Podcast Network.
You know, one thing that I don't understand is how someone from a community that has experienced, ignorance, violence, and bigotry can then dish that same ignorance, violence, and bigotry onto another group of people. Let's get into this. Now, the subject of this video today is going to be about, something had popped up on my feed. Now, this comes from a channel, an Afrocentric channel named Runaway Slave. Now, I've been subscribed to this channel for, quite a while, actually. One of the reasons why is because, I tend to follow a lot of, black content creators, Afrocentric YouTubers, YouTubers and, channels that talk about, black history and black empowerment and any of that matter. And matter of fact, I try to incorporate that into a lot of the videos that I make, because there's a lot of things that most people don't know, a lot of things that, black goths don't know, a lot of things that black metalheads don't know. And I think that it's important for, me as, content creator to, let people know what's actually going on, let people know the history and try to dispel any, negative stereotypes. But with that being said, I recently had to hit the unsubscribe because, like many Afrocentric channels that I've followed in the past, this one decided to take the bigoted route. Now, the name of this video that I'm going to be responding to is named Black People Observing Pride Month is Caveman Nation Emulation. Weird name for a title of a video. So let's see what this lad has to talk about. It's about 14 minutes long, so let's see what I can do with it.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel, Runaway Slave. First, I'd like to give a big up to all my subscribers and supporters who like, share, subscribe, purchase the masterpiece The N-Word Is No Secret in the Service, any merch, anything that you've ever done to support the channel. I appreciate you all. Okay, let's cook. Black people do not observe Pride Day, Pride Month, whatever it is. I'm noticing that I'm seeing this more now. Black people, black children, black adults observing this satanic, white supremacist forbidden act as a holiday or a month. And they're trying to throw it off as love or acceptance. It's all BS. That's what the shaitan does, okay?
All right, so he starts off by saying that this is satanic, and because of that, I had to put the satanic flag back up. But does this guy not realize that most people that are part of the LGBTQ community are not even Satanists? Matter of fact, they come from all walks of life. I was at a Pride festival last week. I've met gay Quakers. I've met gay Muslims that were there. And you have to understand, when it comes to religion, people are not born religious. That's something that's passed down. That's something that is passed down. If your parents were Muslim, chances are you were probably going to be raised Muslim. If your parents are Christian, chances are you're probably going to be raised up as a Christian. That was my situation. I was raised as a Baptist. My mom wanted me to be a Baptist, and then, well, guess what? Guess what happened when I turned, 19. And another argument that he makes is that this is somehow, tied to white supremacy, which honestly doesn't even make any sense when you actually do any research on it. Now, if we were to go into European history back in the 1930s and 40s, there was a group of people, you guys probably already know their name, and one of their main targets was members of the LGBTQ community. Remember the book burnings, remember, arson at the university, remember all the schools and academic places that taught LGBTQ history all being burnt down. And then look at what's going on here in the United States. You'll see some overlap. Usually the people that are extremely racist and extremely bigoted towards black people and people within my demographic, let's just say they're not too fond of queer people either. So I don't understand the connection between that and white supremacy. Has this guy even met a white supremacist before? I seriously doubt it.
I noticed years ago when these white supremacists started this, they started to push this on their Negro sock puppet celebrities and politicians to promote this. And when I started seeing our people into it more, that was confirmation for me to how lost, weak, and broken we were, and how easily we were confused and under a spell. And I seen this big time. This is going on big time under the term of Obama. Him and other various Boule Greek organization politicians and celebrities were pushing this whole homo movement very, very hard, okay?
All right, well, this actually has nothing really to do with President Obama or anything like that. Last time I checked, gay black people and queer black people have always existed throughout history. You even go back to the civil rights movement. You have Bayard Rustin, who was openly gay. You had James Baldwin, who I think was bisexual. You had Langston Hughes, who was asexual. You had Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who I think was a lesbian. And then you have the founder of the queer rights movement, Marsha P. Johnson, who was, openly trans. So to say that this is being pushed on, the black community by President Obama, even though the fact that he wasn't even born all yet, does this guy even know what the hell he's talking about? So what he's saying is before President Obama got elected, there were no gay black people at all that existed. Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? Does this guy live under a rock? He must do, and his neighbor must be Patrick Starr.
And I definitely seen it under the term of Obama, because anybody who was at the White House, and I was, for a good amount of time, knows that when Obama came around, all the energy was gay. That's the first time that I seen actual tranny bathrooms in my life. They made tranny bathrooms in the Eisenhower building, and the interns, those who were interns, a lot of black people felt as though, okay, well, they have a black president. He's going to have black interns, like Monica Lewinsky. She was an intern, at the White House under Bill Clinton. Well, these presidents, they have interns who are supposed to be like the next leaders. And I know a lot of people were thinking, okay, well, he's going to bring black young interns in. And he did. But all of these little guys were duck walking. You seen they were Bati Boy minis running around, walking around. It was really sad and demonic. You didn't see any young man who appeared to be like a young man, who stood straight up and he just wanted to take advantage of his talents or opportunity. You didn't see that.
All right, so I can't really confirm any of this, but let's say for the sake of argument that this is true. Why does it matter? As long as there are people within our community that represent us that aren't going to sell out, that aren't going to be like Amala Ekamubi or fucking Candace Owens or fucking the Hodge twins. Why does it matter what their sexuality is? What does them, being queer or, being or duck walking or whatever the hell it's supposed to mean have to do with you or have to do with policy? Absolutely jack shit, mate. Now, one of the terms that he uses in here is the term Bati Boy. Now, for those that don't understand what that means, it's part of the Jamaican patois. Bati Boy is basically their version of, saying the F word. It's used in a lot of, reggae songs. I think Sizzla Kalonji has used it a couple times. Buju Banton has used it a couple times. And usually that's a word used to encourage violence and discrimination against people who identify as queer that live in the Caribbean region. Another word that you might also commonly hear is the word chichi man, Chichiman. That's also used in combination with the term Bati Boy or Bati Man, also really common in, the Caribbean region. So those are those are two words that you might hear in a lot of, reggae songs from back in the day. I'm not sure if it still continues all to this day because of, lots of changes that have been going on. But either way, this guy is really letting his bias show. But I'm going to let you continue.
You just seen these little duck walkers around, black boys, you know what I'm saying? And I remember years ago, I was listening to something, and Dr. Umar Johnson said something about that. Years ago, he was saying that all the interns at the White House were gay black boys. And I was like, wow, I don't know how he knows that, but I'm somebody who goes there every day and I see it. It's the truth. You know what I'm saying? He was 100% right. I never seen him there, but he knew that. So somebody told him something that was true. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so he's quoting Dr. Umar Johnson now. I have my own issues with Dr. Umar Johnson. I personally think that the guy is some sort of hotep hustler. I think that he's taking advantage of, the black community. I mean, what he likes to do is he likes to mix, Afrocentrism and, black education with his own little ideology and conspiracies. There's a lot to go through there, but, that's even too much for this video. And I know that there are several other videos out there that explain how much of a fraud and a huckster this guy is. So I probably might link to you guys some videos about how this guy is some sort of a con man and why I don't trust this lad anymore. So let me continue.
Anyway, this rainbow Satanism people, they have convinced black folks and bullied a lot of black people into this Skittle stuff. And they're saying that it's about love and acceptance. It's not. It's not about love and acceptance. And the shaitan is very deceptive. I see many of our people going for it. I've seen many black folks get bullied into it or say that, okay, well, I got to do this. And I lost a lot of respect for people because of that, a whole lot of respect.
Well, I don't really see how it's bullying. What they're doing is just taking flags like this and waving them around, and somehow that's somehow bullying. You think that minding their own business, wanting to marry the partner that they love, wanting to, just get through everyday life without having to worry about getting fired from their job or getting beaten up or getting harassed or sexually assaulted in the bathroom. I mean, to me, it sounds like the bullying is coming from the other way and that the queer people are the victims in this case. I mean, by this logic, you might as well say that, Nat Turner and the abolitionists were bullying people into, ending slavery. Like, how stupid are you? And by the way, you are a black man. I guarantee you, your ancestors, just like mine, had to experience this type of, ignorance and bigotry in the past. And knowing all this, you just want to go around, brag about how awesome discrimination is, and then say that you're being victimized and you're being bullied just because they're just asking to be accepted. My thing is this. You can have your own little opinions on, queer people and whatnot. But my thing is this. You don't have to interact with those people. You can always just mind your own business. If you see a queer couple kissing on TV, you could just turn the TV off. If you don't like listening to queer music, then, just turn off your radio or, don't listen to Spotify or anything like that. No one's forcing this on you. You're not being bullied. You just want to act like a crybaby little bitch. So then after that, he decides to link a video of TikToker who's complaining about private school, I'm guessing, celebrating Pride, and you see a bunch of, black kids in the front holding rainbow flags and, all sorts of, vibrant colors. And he's complaining about it. So I'm going to play that clip for you.
Come on, Philly. I don't know what mastery school this is, but this is wrong. This is wrong. Number one, it's demonic, and it's wrong. The fact that y'all could take black history out of schools, but you can have our babies outside celebrating Pride Month, this is wrong. And it's demonic. It's devilish. It's wrong. I have no problem. I'm not homophobic. I have no problem with that community. What they do is what they do. Right? But I answer to God. This is wrong.
All right, so he's saying he doesn't have a problem with this community, but yet he goes on and saying it's wrong. Make that make sense.
This is wrong. This sends the wrong message. This is wrong. I see young men out here. They are young men out here. And y'all have them out here with flags. Y'all have them out here parading for Pride Month. This is wrong. Every official in that mastery school know darn well this is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong.
He says the same old thing over and over again like a broken record. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. You want to know what's wrong? When you have a lot of people that are part of this community, children that are contemplating self-harm. Well, you don't want to know what's wrong when you have parents that are super duper religious and super duper conservative kicking their kids out on the street, making them homeless simply because of who they are. That's fucking wrong. What's wrong is when you have people that are willing to commit crime and acts of violence or even homicide simply because they don't like the fact that their child happens to be queer. That's what's fucking wrong. This is exactly what we need. You're saying that's somehow wrong. And then you want to have the nerve to say that you are not homophobic and that you don't have any problem with people in the queer community. Yes, you do, and you're letting it all hang out there. And you're not going to trick anyone or lie to anyone or gaslight anyone into thinking otherwise.
And for whatever fathers who going up the mastery and allowing this, y'all are wrong too. Because ain't no damn way in the world my kid will be out of school and they won't even know Black history, but they get to be outside with flags promoting Pride Month. This is wrong. Shame on you, Mastery. Shame on you. And anybody in Mastery who approved this. This is wrong. This is nothing to be proud about. I can see if it was bullying. I can see if it was race. But when we're talking about our babies, our sons and daughters outside, they don't look like they over 10 years old, 11 years old. They shouldn't even know about sex at this age.
All right, so, well, this actually has nothing to do with sex. If you look at the photo, I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see the whole thing. Nowhere in here does it even mention sex or any sexual activity. No one is dressed, provocatively. These are all children. You have one sign that says "My life matters," another sign that says "My life matters," another sign that says "I am loved." One says, there's a third sign that says "My life matters." So you have all these signs that say "My life matters" and "I am loved," and then you have the big banner in the front that says "Proud to be us," and all sorts of positive messages. And I think some of these are the kids' names. So I'm trying to figure out what sexual activity is going on in this photo, because I don't see anything here celebrating sex. I don't see anything. I don't see any drawings of any phalluses. I don't see any body parts or anything else being drawn here. So, what is this lad talking about? Is he looking at the same video that I'm looking at?
To be outside, promoting Pride Month. And when you go on the page and they're laughing and hoo-hoo and gee-gee, and this is wrong. This is wrong. Who approved this? Who approved this for our kids? Bad enough we fighting racism. We fighting all these other different devils. Now we gotta fight this? Y'all won't fight for Black history? They can't know who strong Black men is, but they could be outside with Pride Month? This is wrong. And it's out of pocket. And we won't stand for it.
Now, he actually does kind of make a point when he says Black history. But at the same time, you as a Black man have the opportunity to teach that history to your children. You can't just expect other people to do it and be like, oh, well, screw Black history. Let the schools do it. How do you think that I even got involved in Black history? I didn't learn all of it from school. I learned it from reading books. I've learned it from watching documentaries. I learned it from subscribing to, Afrocentric YouTube channels that talk about these issues. I've learned from, my parents. My grandmother made sure to teach me about Black history. My father was big on it too. So was my mother. In fact, the only reason why I figured out that there was a Black national anthem, and this was something that I didn't know until I was in middle school. The only reason I found out is through my mother, who taught it to me. Other than that, I would have had no idea what it was. It wasn't taught in schools. At least I don't think they taught it in schools. I know they taught it in some churches. They probably did teach it in my church, but then again, I wasn't really in the choir for all that long. But you as a Black parent, it's your responsibility to educate your children and let them know their history. If you expect other people to do it, then either they're not going to care or they're just going to forget it.
And at the end of the day, I don't play about these babies in Philadelphia. Y'all not going to pimp these babies for whatever type of agenda that y'all got and how y'all got it. I don't care. But it's wrong. It's wrong. These babies shouldn't even be knowing about sex in this grade.
Well, I didn't know about sex at that age either. And guess what? From the time that I was in preschool, I've known that I've always been attracted to women. All right. This is not something that had to be taught to me. I just always knew it. Now, my parents didn't give me to talk about the birds and the bees until like I was around 11 or 12. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that they did, because right now at the age of 30, haven't had any accidents, haven't had any pregnancy scares. I shouldn't be telling you this, but I was a virgin all the way up until I was 22 years old. So I'd say my parents did pretty successful. At the age of 30, not having, any children out of wedlock, not, having any baby mama drama or baby daddy drama or anything like that. I'm actually proud of myself, and I'm proud of them for, teaching me the right things to do. But to say that, these kids are too young, I don't believe that that's true. I think a lot of people know who they're attracted to pretty much almost immediately when they become self-aware. And like I said previously, there's nothing in here that indicates that any of these signs are sexual or sexually explicit or have anything to do with that type of adult content. So once again, lad, what photo are you looking at?
We fighting all these other different devils, now we gotta fight this?
No, you shouldn't be fighting this. What you should be fighting is the discrimination against people that are exactly like that. You as a black man should know better. I'm going to get a little hate for saying this. The reason why you have so many black men out here, and not just black men, but black people in general, is because they want acceptance from the oppressor. So you want to know what they do? They take a page out of their playbook. Oh, well, in order for them to stop oppressing black people, and since I see they're oppressing both black people and queer people, I'm going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and we're both going to go after the queer people together. Here's why that's a problem. Because what do you see these same groups of people doing? They're also going after black people. They're not going to let you go. They're not going to say, oh, well, this guy is one of the good ones because, he hates gay people just as much as I do. They hate you just as much as they hate the queer community. And no amount of, bigotry and homophobic slurs and transphobic slurs is going to change their mind. You're nothing more than a token for them. And they're going to use you as a token. And once they realize that they can't use you anymore, then guess what? They're just going to go back to doing the same thing that they've always did to you. And they're not going to treat you any different or any better. And it doesn't matter how homophobic or bigoted you are.
Big shout out to that brother in the city of Philadelphia for speaking up and being a man about this, okay? This is ridiculous, okay? And the one thing that these people did is trick and bamboo. You can easily trick black people in the masses, most of us, and put us under this spell with celebrities, okay? You can do this with Negro celebrities, people that we like. Black people have this thing with celebrities. It's something that should be studied, you know what I mean? But anyway, this stuff that these people are into or trying to promote is nothing but a sex act, and that's it. They're trying to promote this as if it's something else. If somebody says that they are gay, they're gay. That's it. That has nothing to do with anything else. That's what they are. They gay.
All right. So you basically just contradict yourself. You're saying that they're promoting a sex act. That at the same time you said if someone comes out as gay, that then they're gay. Well, once again, what does that have to do with sex at all? Well, matter of fact, I'm going to put up a few photos. Here's a picture right here. Now, seeing this picture, do you see anything sexual about it? No, it's just two people getting married. All right, what does that have to do with sex? Now, if you have the type of mind that sees, two people getting married, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, oh, queer people having sex. Well, honestly, I think that's kind of a you problem and not really a problem with their community. When I see heterosexual people getting married, I don't be like, oh, well, I guess this person is going to have sex tonight, or, oh my God, straight people and straight sex. And I don't think any normal person believes in that. And that's the thing about homophobic people and people that have issues with the queer community. They think about queer stuff more than actual queer people do. And like I said in my other previous videos discussing this topic, they seem to be externalizing an internal struggle. Most people, if they're not gay, they're not going to think about gay sex. This guy clearly has it on his mind. So I wonder what his search history looks like.
Nothing to do with love, okay? Nothing to do with love. Listen, black people have loved other black people for years. In the hood, wherever you're from, whatever city you might be from, however you grew up, there are girls who had friends that were girls that they loved. There are dudes, guys, little guys, teammates, friends in the hood riding bikes who loved their friends, okay? That don't mean that they were gay. In order to be gay, you got to do one thing. That's it. It's an act, okay? You ain't a killer till you kill somebody, and you ain't gay until you finish the rest. That's the bottom line.
Right. Well, no one says that, loving your friend or loving a family member or loving, your teammates on your football team makes you queer or part of the LGBTQ community. There's, context matters. When you say that you love someone, it's either because you love them as a friend or you care about them. And then you have, someone that you're romantically involved in saying, oh, you love them and you want to spend your entire life with them. Does this guy not understand the meaning of romantic attraction or sexual orientation or anything like that? Clearly, obviously, he doesn't.
And you don't have to love somebody to do that with them. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes them what they are. Has nothing to do with love. See, the problem with this is when it became a problem is when these Skittles people, they politicized a sex act. And they try to act like their movement is about love and acceptance. It's just an act that makes them what they are. You know what I'm saying? Has nothing to do with love. How can it be when a form of sodomy makes them what they are?
Well, no, this actually has not been something that's politicized by that community. The reason why it's such a political issue right now is because you have so many people out there trying to legislate queer people out of existence. Whether it's, revisionist history saying that Marsha P. Johnson wasn't gay or Marsha P. Johnson wasn't trans, or going around saying that, or, all the crazy conspiracy theories about Bayard Rustin, them trying to, say that Langston Hughes wasn't really asexual and stuff like that, and them trying to redefine the meaning of asexuality between, certain political parties trying to ban trans and non-binary people from sports and from public restrooms. It's really not the queer community that's doing all of this, is it? It's the same political party that was doing this same shit to black people. So perhaps you should enlighten your obstinate mind and read an American history textbook, why don't you?
You know what I'm saying? Has nothing to do with love. How can it be when a form of sodomy makes them what they are? I mean, that's not love. You know what I'm saying? That's the bottom line.
Right. So I don't mean to get sexual in this video at all, but he mentioned the act of sodomy. Now, for those that don't know, or those that probably are new to this word, because I think this is the first time in my life that I've ever used such a word. Does this guy not realize that that's an act mostly promoted and performed by heterosexual people? If you have ever given or received head from somebody, guess what? That is considered an act of sodomy. And I'm pretty sure almost everyone on the planet who is sexually active has had that done at least once in their life. So guess what, lad? If your wife or your girlfriend or anything like that perform that act on you, then guess what? You're a sodomite as well. Congratulations.
And people try to twist this around and go here with it and confuse people. The bottom line is this. What makes them what they are is an act of sex that is forbidden. You know what I mean? For men.
Forbidden based on what? All right. Last time I checked, we've gotten rid of a lot of these anti-sodomy laws. And the reason why these laws are even in place in the first place is because of what? Religion. Notice in most secularized countries, these laws really don't exist. It's only in regions that are super duper religious and super duper conservative that have those types of laws on the book. And it's not until, people with common sense and people that, are willing to put, fact over religion that these laws are overturned. And also, it's not act that makes that person that way. It's the romantic attraction, you fucking idiot.
You know what I'm saying? and even women, whatever. Whatever, the women may do, whatever, the women, whatever, all that, you know what I'm saying? But this is why these people put so much emphasis on sex, and that's it. You notice that they'll put a lot of emphasis on nothing but sex and weird stuff because they know what makes them what they are is just that.
Well, in regards to the weird stuff, I'm assuming he's talking about like kink and whatnot. Now, when it comes to, a lot of these pride festivals, all right, sometimes you do have kink that goes to pride, and then you have other pride events that are more family friendly. But my thing is this isn't not, kink is not something that's exclusive to the LGBTQ community. Like, for example, I live here in New Jersey, and every year we have this thing called the Erotic Expo. It's held in Edison. And guess what? Majority of the booths that are set up there are not owned or operated by queer people. They are operated by heterosexual people. A lot of the adult film stars that come into town, a lot of them are heterosexual film actors and actresses. A lot of the adult film production companies that set up booths there, a lot of them strictly only do heterosexual, adult films. So my thing is this, what's going on in your mind that when you see rainbows or, queer colored flags, that the first thing that pops in your head is sexual activity? What is going on in your mind, my friend? I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as clearly as I possibly can. If you see rainbows or a gay couple walking down the street holding hands, or, someone with a pride flag or a transgender person, participating in sports. And if that's the first thing that comes up into your mind, then I have news for you. That means you're queer.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
Okay, people dressing up as I'm a man, but I'm gonna be a woman. You're a woman. You're looking weird. You have a mustache and high heels and all this other weird stuff that they got, stuff that black people was never into before. And it happened so fast. Then they started calling it pride.
Well, once again, this guy knows nothing about history. Drag is something that has been going on for centuries. You go back in, ancient Europe, a lot of, acting jobs were not available to women. It was considered wrong for women to, act in stage and theater. So a lot of the men would perform as women. I know in Japan, you do have this traditional thing called the no plays. 100% of those actors were men. And believe it or not, no plays still exists today. And those female parts are still played by men. But, that's just ancient history. Let's go back to, the 1980s, where you had a lot of, hair metal bands and, shock rockers, wearing clothing of, the opposite gender, or wearing, clothing that would be considered feminine and whatnot. You had guys in makeup, guys with, wearing, like I said, Alice Cooper wearing lingerie and stuff like that. This isn't something new that happened, over the past couple of years. This is something that has always happened. Matter of fact, even take Little Richard, for example. I mean, he's openly queer. Little Richard was a man way ahead of his time, right? He constantly wore makeup and whatnot. Guess what? That didn't really affect his masculinity. That really didn't really affect his image as a black man. Little Richard is still, even to this day, loved and highly respected by everyone in the country right now. And even abroad, to those that, were exposed to his music. So to say that this is a recent invention, well, like I said, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under, but you need to get up out of it.
And black people fell for the okie doke. Why? Because politicians, very, very crazy. When Obama was in office, he pushed, that was pretty much his whole term. And then you had these other Negro celebrities, shine bones, who'll do anything. These people are prostitutes. What are they? Hollywood people, celebrities, they're usually just prostitutes. They'll do anything or say anything, to be accepted or for money. Now what's sick is that these people have an entire month to observe what they do. Black people have a history in America that goes way back, hundreds and hundreds of years, recorded major accomplishments, okay? And they observe our history for the same amount of time that they observe some people who politicize a sex act. Absolutely ridiculous, okay?
See, what this lad simply does not understand, because he's too stupid to understand, is that this is not just a sex act. That is how someone is. That's how they were born. That's like saying, like, I'm going to reiterate again, like I said previously, that's like saying that heterosexuality is a sex act. It isn't. That's literally who they are. People are born like that. People are born with that sexual orientation. And if you didn't have all these bloody politicians trying to legislate this out of existence, this wouldn't even be a political issue at all. You see, if we treated queer people with respect and dignity since the dawn of time, from the very beginning, none of this would ever even be a political issue at all. But because of people like you, you're making it a political issue. Do you not realize that?
I think that this should make black people feel some kind of way. It's disgusting. It's demonic. This is forbidden. This is haram in every sense, okay? In every sense. And there is no way that you can make progress with anybody or any people where you two don't agree the bottom line of right and wrong. That's why I always said in 2025, me from the East Coast, I'm a Muslim, okay? I have more in common. With people's great or great grandmother, Christian lady, great grandfather, Christian man from the deep South, going to church every Sunday praying. I have more in common with them than these people now.
Well, that bloody explains everything now, doesn't it? So you have more in common with people who practice a slave master's religion than you do to the queer people who are, being oppressed by the people who believe in the slave master's religion. Makes perfect sense, right? And that's the funny thing, is that the name of your channel is called Runaway Slave, but yet you're more willing to side with people who believe in the religion of the slave master. And that's the funny thing, is that you have a guy like me who isn't even gay, and I actually have more in common with that community than I do with people like you. Why do you think I became a fucking Satanist? Shoot, with the way things are going, I might as well rename my channel Runaway Slave, because I ran away from the slave religion. And I think it's rather ironic how this lad is like, oh, I'm proud to be black. I want to teach black history. I want to talk about Afrocentrism. And as soon as black queer people come into the picture, he wants to act like Uncle Ruckus the next minute.
Because I tell you what, me and your great grandmother, me and your great grandfather, whoever that may be, if you get us in the room 90% of the time, we're going to agree on 90% or more of right and wrong, things that are right or wrong, okay? You won't even do that now with your peers. You'll have some okie doke, oh, well, yeah, this is wrong, but this, no. If you go back to black people when we were better people, back in the 80s and before that, okay, we will all agree. Of course, we're going to have problems, but we will all agree. This is right, this is wrong, and that's it. Even if I'm doing it, it's wrong. Not anymore. Not with these new weird humans and Negro bots and people who are under this spell. This is absolutely sad. You know what I'm saying? But you will never make progress with people where you just don't agree with right and wrong. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to agree with of course, nobody's going to agree on everything. But the bottom line, you can't agree that smoking crack is wrong. You can't agree that robbing a store is wrong. You can't agree that touching a child is wrong. You can't agree that sodomy, being a homosexual is wrong. You will never make progress with these people, okay?
We're literally towards the end of this video, and this lad still has not explained what is wrong with it. He's comparing it to smoking crack, which, is bad for your health. He's comparing it to robbing stores where, you're damaging people's property and taking something that you haven't earned. He's comparing it, this is like the 1980s argument, comparing it to child abuse, when these are grown, consenting adults that are doing that. So I ask you, lad, and matter of fact, I might be bold enough to send this video to the lad, explain to me why it's wrong. Because it's written in a bloody book that was written thousands upon thousands of years ago by a bunch of old men that lived in a fucking desert. oh, it's wrong because I say it's wrong. Trust me, bruh.
You will never make progress with these people. And that goes for those people who put those kids out there in Philadelphia to celebrate Pride Day. Their parents, the faculty of the school, don't even waste your time trying to form any allegiance and make progress with these people. It's a waste. I wouldn't care if it's your relative, your friend. I wouldn't care if you say you have the same religion, same lineage. You will not make progress. Who you can't come to the same bottom line belief of right and wrong. That's basic, okay? That's basic. And here's the thing. Don't let these people bully you into saying that something is wrong with what you're saying, people. You know, this is we're the minority here. You know what I'm saying?
Funny how you bring up that you're a minority. You want to know who else is a minority? Queer black people. Do you not understand that? Like you literally sound like the oppressor. At this point, you might as well buy yourself a white hood because it's clearly obvious whose side you're on. You're not some sort of Afrocentric person. You're not some sort of black power activist. You're not some sort of person that wants to uplift the black community. You're on the side of the same exact people that keep black people down, that want to put their boot on the necks of black people, that want to treat black people as second-class citizens. And you think because you believe in your worthless God and your worthless made-up religion that that's somehow going to elevate people in your community or somehow stop that same oppressor from going after you.
But people, these gay folks, they live their life. Nobody's scared of them or is homophobic. Nobody hates these people. You know what I mean? Live your life. It's that simple. Do what you do. The problem is when these people, these white supremacists did this and they push it to these buck dancing Negroes, they try to politicize a sex act. In order to be what you are, all you have to do is one thing. It's not like it's that serious, okay? And that's something that you do behind closed doors. So what that got to do with us? In order to be what you are, if you are a homosexual, all you got to do is one thing. And that's something that you do behind closed doors. Nobody wants to watch anybody doing that. I wouldn't care if they weren't homosexual. The problem is when these evil people, these white supremacists, these Zionists, these buck dancing politicians, and these boule Negro celebrity prostitutes, they tried to politicize this act. And that is what screwed things up. And that's what creates a failed society. No progress from there. Easy.
Well, to be quite honest, I don't think we'll be getting any progress from you anytime soon because you want to take us back to these puritanical times where religion controls everything. You know, by the way this lad sounds, he sounds like the type of black man that wants to turn the United States or the black community into some sort of, you know, Sharia law, Taliban ethno state. And that's some bullshit, you know? I mean, you want to go on about white supremacy. I'm like, lad, have you ever met a white supremacist? They hate gay people just as much as you do. So to say that queer black people are somehow marching or forming an alliance with white supremacists, well, where are they at? Like, seriously, where are they at? Because literally everyone that regurgitates these white supremacist talking points, they happen to agree with you word for word, honestly. And honestly, I guarantee you if they saw this video, they would say, you know, word up, brother. Thank you for standing up. Oh, we got ourselves one of the good ones right here. Yeah, he might be a Muslim, but yeah, he hates them gays just like we do. Yeah, we don't like queers. We don't like trans people in sports. We don't want them in the bathrooms either. Yep. I say this little color boy got some common sense on him. This little color boy, I like this one. Yeah. Yep, I want him to sing and I want him to dance for me. I want him to espouse every talking points because there's one community that I really don't like, and that's them queers. And after we're done going after queers, we'll go after them too. Yep. Honestly, if this is your first time hearing about this runaway slave guy, let's just be clear now. Dude's a fraud. Dude's one of them hotep hustlers. Dude is only doing it for, you know, probably clout or views, or perhaps there's, you know, some monetary narrative behind it. This does absolutely nothing to uplift the black community. If anything, your video is the biggest sponsor for white supremacy that I've ever seen in my entire bloody life. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. If you guys have anything to add, just let me know in the comments, or perhaps, you know, give this guy a piece of your bloody mind. All right, you guys, stay safe, stay metal, hail Satan, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.